Well, look, I mean, used cars obviously have a place. A lot of people need mobility; they have to be affordable.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a certain amount of risk that you take when you buy a used car because of the reliability. You don't know what the history of the vehicle is. You don't have a service history, which is why we advocate that it's always better to buy new. Well, first of all, obviously there's a rise in four-wheel drive vehicles, ground clearance, SUVs, etc., vehicles with ground clearance, pretty much due to the condition of a lot of the roads. Obviously the weather conditions, we have quite high precipitation in rainy season, flooding can take place, etc. So I think people would lean more towards an SUV or a four-wheel drive, or even a crossover these days because of ground clearance, rather than a saloon car. But I think there always will be a place for saloon cars in the world. It may, as we've seen with statistics and records, we've seen that there is more of a gravitation towards SUVs. But there's still a place for saloon cars in the world, and I think there will be for a long time to come. Yeah, it's a difficult question. Electric vehicles obviously are starting to grow. I don't think they're growing at the pace they should be growing at. I think we're a long way off having that in Africa, in Kenya. Not as long as it may have taken to take in other countries, because obviously with the used vehicles that come into this country, they're obviously coming from countries where they've already used them. We've seen with the hybrid vehicles that come into this country that actually people are just driving them without the batteries even included, because that's the most important, most expensive part of the vehicle, which is actually the power cells. So realistically, yeah, electric vehicles are still a long way off, but when I say a long way off, I'm talking about it, you're talking 10 years, 15 years. Driver assist technology is actually fantastic. I mean, I think parallel parking, perpendicular parking with park assist is fantastic. Pilot park is okay, that's an autonomous parking. Autonomous driving, I think everyone knows the recent accident that happened in the US where there was a fatality from autonomous driving, and I think that's going to put a little bit of the brakes on the development of autonomous driving, but I do see it will be something in the future once the safety is sorted out. I mean, park assist is fantastic because, I mean, a lot of people don't, they learn to parallel park and perpendicular park using the driving lessons or driving test in order to pass. But realistically, once you get into the real world and you're driving every day, you would prefer to take a parking slot that's straight in. With park assist, obviously, it takes the risk, the calculation, the angle of the steering, etc., takes it away from the driver. It's like ABS. I mean, people can brake. Excellent drivers can brake without ABS just as well as they can brake with ABS. But it is a more safety feature, and I think it's an added value. You're sitting in it. This is the Mercedes, the GLE.
Yeah.
I like it because I'm a golfer. I have a lot of luggage room in the back. It's a very comfortable vehicle, and it stands out from the crowd. It's a head turner. It's very economical, very powerful, and very beautiful.